What's up, everyone? John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here with a full review of the AT&T branded LTE capable Galaxy Note. This is the largest smartphone on the planet. Is it a phablet? Is it a tone? Is it too big for your pants? Let's go ahead and answer all these questions as we take a look at the Galaxy Note. So if you aren't a monster phone nerd like me, chances are you don't have the specs of this phone memorized. Let me recap what you can get in your 5.3-inch package. Just go ahead and make your jokes. It is running Android 2.3, and that is, of course, gingerbread. We are living in an ice cream sandwich world, and a phone with gingerbread certainly isn't looked on with giant smileys and happy faces. Samsung has said that ice cream sandwich will be coming. We're expecting it sometime in March. From a price standpoint, it's going to be $299 with a 2-year contract. But, you know, sometimes deals happen, so you're going to want to check your retailer for updated pricing. From a dimension standpoint, 5.78 inches down, 3.27 inches across, and a very thin 0.38 inches there on the diameter. So it's a large phone, but a very thin phone. And all that's going to come in at a 6.45 ounce package. So not the heaviest phone in the world, despite its size. So that display, 5.3 inches. It's a resolution of 1280 by 800. WXVGA HD Super AMOLED screen. So that giant resolution screen, something we're definitely going to talk about, is going to give you an extra row of icons, especially when you're on the home screen as opposed to most Android phones that give you 4. We got 5 across, and we'll talk about that screen a little bit more as we move along through the review. Giant phone, giant screen, giant battery. It has a 2500 milliamp hour battery, which Samsung says is going to be good for about 10 hours of talk time. We'll talk a bit more about battery life. Oddly enough, it's 100 milliamp hours smaller than the European unlocked version, comes in at 2600 milliamp hour batteries. And speaking of differences between the European version, this guy is running a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Qualcomm-built chipset. I did a comparison of the European versus the AT&T version, so you can check that link out down below in case you want to see what the differences are. But this is the 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm model. It's got a gig of RAM, 16 gigs of storage internal with micro USB expandability. On the back, we've got, boom, 8 megapixel camera with LED flash that can shoot 1080p video at 30 frames per second. That guy, 30 frames per second, of course, LED flash, but it also has a 2 megapixel camera on the front, right there. Boom, that's the front facing camera. That's why I said boom, in case you were wondering. It is running on AT&T's LTE network with backwards compatibility for HSPA+, or fallback rather, for HSPA+. It's got Bluetooth 3.0. One other bit of note that I'm not really going to talk that much about because for me it's not overly useful. It's got something called an S Pen. Don't call it a stylus. Samsung will get mad. S Pen. Uses Wacom technology. You can draw right on the phone. The most useful thing about the S Pen for me actually was that if you hold down this here button on this here S Pen and you tap the screen, it takes a screenshot. And then you can edit that screenshot and you can draw right on it. So I'll show you a little bit about the S Pen. We'll go ahead and hit that. Pick a color, let's say red, because I'm feeling like I'm in a red mood. Go ahead and exit out of that. And now I can draw. Hi. And I can write stuff and I can do different pressure sensitivity. I think it's got 32 different points of pressure. You can go ahead and erase and do whatever you want. So why'd that be useful? If you need to draw something or sketch something, if you're sending a Google Maps to someone, go ahead and draw some notes right on there. For me, I didn't really use it, but the S Pen doesn't take up much space, doesn't really bother me, so it's always nice to have and not use than to need it and not have it. So for my personal needs, I didn't find it really useful, but perhaps for you, you might. So hey, the S Pen lives there. That happened. All right, so a lot of this stuff in the full review I covered when I did the review of the international Galaxy Note, and I also did a 30 days later with that Galaxy Note. Both those videos are going to be down below. So I'm going to talk about what makes this version unique and my thoughts and opinions on it, and I'll recap very quickly my thoughts on the Galaxy Note. So I was using the European version for the better part of a month and a half, and then I switched over to the AT&T version. So for about 2 months, this has been the only phone that I've been using, the only phone that I've very happily I've been using. The first thing you got to know about the Galaxy Note is it's a big phone. And on paper, you look at 5.3 inches, you're going to say, no way, too big. That is ridiculous, silly. I'm going to look like a madman or woman talking on this phone. Yeah, you look a little bit silly holding it up to your head. I personally love the extra screen real estate. It's been absolutely tremendous for me. When you go ahead and look at a website, let's go ahead and launch Techno Buffalo here, you can see where things really come in handy. That extra resolution, extra screen size means you're going to get more content on the page. So if you're someone like me that likes to do a lot of work on your phone, this is going to be tremendous. So right here, I can view almost 5 articles on one page. And generally, high-resolution phones I haven't enjoyed because this things look so small, because the screen's so small. 5.3 inches, though, looks quite nice. The next fear that I had was it's not going to fit in my pants or my pocket. It will, and it does. Definitely takes some getting used to, but it's not as odd as you might think. This is definitely one of those phones that if you're in the market for a new device, you want to go to the store and try it. You have to hold it in your hand to see if it's going to work for you. It's not so easy for one-handed use because it is so big. I have a relatively large hand with a freakish thumb. Actually, I know my thumb is gigantic. So for me, it's been okay. But if you're smaller framed or if you're a woman with smaller hands, it's definitely going to need two-hand operation. This is a phone that is not for everybody. This is a phone that is not meant for everybody. You look at sort of mainstream devices, you're going to look at a device like the iPhone 4S, and on the Android side, let's pick the Galaxy Nexus as a phone with a more conventional form factor, as a phone with a more reasonable size that could fit in most pockets and fit in most purses. This phone is not that. Certainly it's meant for a certain subsection of users that want that bigger screen real estate. And I think that if you're a fan of Android, that means you're also a fan of device choice. You like the openness, you like that you can have sort of different screen size, different resolutions. So you can find the phone that best fits you and can fit your friend or whoever else might need it. And for me, this phone fits me perfectly. Whereas something smaller, like say the Galaxy Nexus, I appreciate that it's around. I like having more screen real estate. So this phone has been wonderful for me. But again, not going to be for everyone. You're really going to have to go and check it out. As you can tell by the fact that I've been using it for the past 2 months, I have absolutely loved it, and it's probably been my favorite phone of the past 12 months. I'd say the past year, but we're only in February, at least when I'm filming this review. Wonderfully powerful device. A knock on it, though, certainly is that it's running Gingerbread and Ice Cream Sandwich World. Hopefully we'll see a Samsung build of Gingerbread with TouchWiz on top of it soon. If not, we can hope that the Cyanogen team can release their version of a custom ROM for this, so at least we can get our ice cream sandwich-ness on. Next thing, let's talk about battery life. And that was one of my big concerns, one of my concerns that completely went away when I used the European Galaxy Note. I was able to get through a full day taking it off the phone, or off the charger rather, at 7:30. I was able to get to about midnight with still 40-50% battery life, which is pretty impressive. It's about 5 to 10% less on the AT&T LTE version. We have LTE here in the office, so it has LTE signal. It's connected to Wi-Fi most of the day, and generally now I've got about 40% to 35 to 40 by the time I go to bed at night, which is wonderful. I charge my phone every night. I expect to charge my phone every night. You're probably not going to get 2 days use out of this, but you can easily get a day and a half. If you have battery fears or concerns, you don't really need to worry that much. The battery is removable though, so you can always pick up another one and go on your way. So that was one of the other big concerns that I had. LTE is certainly going to vary depending where you are. The screen here, and a lot's been made about the screen. It's a beautiful display. One of the more beautiful displays I've seen, but it's a pentile display, meaning the arrangement of pixels has a bit more of a blue and green pixels than other devices. But for me, things look great. Blacks look black, colors look vibrant. Probably one of the better looking screens I've seen. That's my dog Lucy. So you can see Lucy as a demonstration here of the camera. I'm trying to cover things that are unique to this particular device that I didn't cover in my review of the European version. TouchWiz is TouchWiz. I mean, you sort of know what you're getting. You're getting this custom overlay on top of Android. You're getting a different way to go ahead and view icons and shortcuts. It sort of pops up here nicely. If you pick widgets, you get an array here from the bottom. It's a little bit processor intensive and RAM heavy. I do like on the pull down, I can go ahead and adjust things right away. Airplane mode is here on the AT&T version. On the European version, get an option to set it to vibrate, which I really did like having the option to have. Again, Android, you can obviously customize and make it your own, which I've done a little bit of to sort of make this phone work for me. I've got a custom unlocker here. I can go ahead and unlock it. I can go jump into mail and go to messages, or I can call my wife. So I'll go ahead and unlock. I'm not going to call her on camera. The next thing people have been making a big deal about, and I think rightfully so, is a processor. Samsung has elected to go with Qualcomm for the AT&T version. That has to do with LTE. They need a chipset that's compatible with LTE radios. Qualcomm currently is one of the leading providers of those. So yeah, it's a slower processor. There's no way around it than the Exynos processor found in the European version. You saw that when I did my comparison and we saw the Quadrant scores. I haven't noticed any difference though in real world usage. My real world usage isn't very processor heavy. I use a lot of email on it. I'm not playing 3D games very much. I don't have time, unfortunately. So I haven't noticed much of a difference. But if you're the kind of person that likes to push your phone to the max, then you're going to want to consider perhaps looking at the HSPA Plus European version if the Galaxy Note's what you want. But if you're an everyday user that likes to play games and uses your phone for email, text, video, and web, you're not going to notice any problems with the device at all. I've really enjoyed the Galaxy Note. One thing that I do want to mention that I really haven't liked are these 4 capacitive buttons across the bottom. I really did much like more. I speak English. The main home button here on the European Galaxy Note. But that's a design choice, and if you never had the European Galaxy Note, you're going to be used to these capacitive buttons. Next question that I always get is, what's going to happen with these buttons once Ice Cream Sandwich hits? Good question. You've probably seen the Galaxy Nexus that doesn't have any physical buttons. It uses sort of virtual buttons. These are going to be repositioned. The menu button's are going to do something a little bit different. Home button, if you hold it down, you can launch multitasking. They're still going to be in use. You're not going to have virtual buttons here with the Ice Cream Sandwich build that Samsung is going to put out or that the Cyanogen team is going to be putting out. So hey, hopefully that helped answer your question. So overall, I really enjoyed this phone. It's a phone that's going to be in my pocket, and I've got access to pretty much every device out there. This is the one that I am choosing to carry with me. It's definitely a very polarizing device. It looks a little bit odd at first. It's something you have to get used to. But for me, this is where I would put my smartphone dollar right now if I was looking to get a phone today on a 2-year contract. This is the Galaxy Note, available for AT&T. Be sure to check us out at technobuffalo.com for all of your tech news, reviews, and unboxings. I am John Rettinger, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.